of course, was on CNN, said that we should penalize unvaccinated Americans. We can penalize them more. We can say you will have to pay more on your hospital bill. You won't be able to get life insurance or disability. You must be punished. Then you got Yale telling students that they cannot eat at local restaurants. You got students there at Yale saying that it's like living in under Stasi Germany at Yale University. You can't go to public restaurants. Why? Well, COVID. Hello, Omicron. This is from the website Campus Reform. Yale University students cannot eat at restaurants near campus and must comply with a campus-wide quarantine. Quote, students may not visit New Haven businesses or eat at local restaurants, even outdoors, except for curbside pickup. Dining is grab and go until public health conditions improve. The Yale Daily News reported. Oh, and then you got, the sad stories continue to pour out. These young people, this is from Infowars.com, tragic. Double vaxxed 13-year-old dies from unexplained cardiac arrest. Oh, no, that's normal, though. Kids have heart attacks nowadays. Remember we talked about that here in the program? You had banners on the sides of buses in the UK over a year ago saying, "Wait, but be careful, children have heart attacks too." No, not really. No, they didn't. That's not normal. Well, but it's on the side of a bus. It must be normal. And of course, they're saying this because swelling hearts, blood clotting from the vaccines. Let us see. Let's move on to some more news that just broke this weekend. That's right. I told you we had some BLM news. The BLM is back. It never really went away. It's just the news hasn't been covering them as much because we got to talk about COVID all the time and get your vaccine, and climate change is killing everybody. But we got this disturbing piece of news that came out from RT today, February 6th, 2022. And this is disturbing, folks. This is disturbing. Preschool stages BLM march for young students. And there's a video, and I'm going to warn you now, I'm going to play the sound clip. A Washington, D.C. school has provoked controversy online by posting a video of its kindergarten students marching with Black Lives Matter signs and chanting slogans in support of the cause. The clip, which was uploaded on Lowell School's official Instagram page on Saturday, featured more than a dozen kids engaged in the action organized for them by their teachers. Well, of course, they wouldn't do this spontaneously by themselves. The pupils, who appear to be aged 5 or 6, were carrying handmade cardboard signs that read Black Lives Matter and chanting the same slogan. All of the children in the video were also sporting face masks. Well, of course. Well, this is only about 10 seconds long, but you need to hear it. It is disturbing. But this is what they're teaching the kids in preschool. Don't you want your kid to, go to, hey, what'd you learn at preschool today, honey? And that chant comes back at you? Black Lives Matter, Black Lives. According to the private school, the young students themselves, quote, asked to create signs and march to show their support after being, quote, inspired by what they were taught during the Black Lives Matter at School week. Yeah, right. They just spontaneously, they asked. Teacher, we want to create signs and march to show our support because we've been inspired by what you taught us during Black Lives Matter at School week. Says the masses of preschoolers to their teachers. Yes, okay, we're supposed to believe that. Just like you're supposed to believe that the chips, microchips don't know who you are. The black boxes in your cars, they don't. That's all anonymous. The comments under the clip were switched off, but it had been reposted on Twitter, where it prompted a heated debate. Some users defended the stunt, claiming that the kids in the clip looked perfectly happy and that by taking part in the march, they were exercising their First Amendment rights. Yeah, well, come on. Yeah, the kids weren't forced. It's not like they were being beaten or whipped into doing this. They seem happy enough. Well, folks, you can talk a preschooler into doing all kinds of things if you sugarcoat it enough, right? Unbelievable. And yet, you wonder why people don't want to send their kids off to... And this is a private school? Imagine what they're doing in the public schools when it comes to this stuff. Many commenters expressed their shock at the clip and blamed teachers for brainwashing and indoctrination of their students. Yeah, I think so. Even people who themselves claim to be supportive of the BLM cause insisted that turning kids into mini political activists was too early and just wrong. And that was reported on Twitter by Lady Unsung, libs of TikTok. This is a liberal saying this. Teaching kids is one thing. Having them march and chant is quite another. I wouldn't want my 5 or 6-year-old to do this no matter how much I believe in the slogan. Come on, people. This is kindergarten. Teach them. Don't force activism on a small child. Ridiculous. Oh, and then the other BLM article I have today from the Daily Mail. BLM protester, 20 years old, is given probation after trying to burn down a school during riots in Minneapolis after George Floyd's death. Yeah, that's right. He's 20 years old, but he's a BLM protester. He's not a January 6th protester. Because that would not... A January 6th... You could not read this headline anywhere. Imagine, for a moment. January 6th protester, age 20, is given probation after walking into the Capitol with a Trump flag. No, of course not. Impossible. But you get this BLM protester given probation. He wasn't peacefully protesting. He was trying to burn down a school during riots in Minneapolis after their hero, George Floyd's death. He's been sentenced to just 5 years of probation alongside a hefty fine for restitution of the partially burnt building. Man, come on, man. See, again, imagine if the tables were turned. There's no way. And no January 6th protester tried to start a fire or burn. Well, it wasn't a federal building. Well, there were plenty of BLM and Antifa protesters that were burning down buildings, including federal buildings and police departments. But nobody, who cares about that? It's not a big deal. Muhammad Hussein Abdi pleaded guilty in a St. Paul, Minnesota courtroom to conspiracy to commit arson in relation to the May 28th, 2020 fire, which occurred just 3 days after Floyd's death on May 25th, according to court documents obtained by Fox News. The 20-year-old will also have to pay over $34,000 to Gordon Parks High School, court documents state. Well, how long is he going to have to pay off the $34,000? Is he actually going to have to get a job? So he'll be too busy working to pay off his debt instead of running around protesting and burning down schools? Abdi was arrested 1 month after attempting to burn the high school down in June of 2020. Ridiculous. Again, this is the whole point of this. During the Black Lives Matter riots in the wake of Floyd's death, there was $500 million worth of damage done and more than 1,500 businesses damaged or destroyed just in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area alone. Oh, but nobody cares about that. It's not Trump supporters. It's no fun to talk about. Then you got Stacey Abrams deleting her smiling photo of herself surrounded by masked children. Wouldn't be surprised if a couple of these children in the picture are the children of the Today Show host correspondent who proudly, happily said, I just sent my kids out the door minutes ago with 2 masks. But again, it's rules for thee, but not for me. That has become the de facto Democrat motto. Then you've got this story from the FBI. Headline, dumbfounded FBI suddenly realizes actual threat to national security. The Bureau, get this, is now beginning to admit the scale of communist Chinese espionage in the United States. By the way, side note, Winter Olympics started, I guess, over the weekend. I haven't watched a single second of it. Couldn't care less, to be honest. And I used to be, obviously I'm a big hockey fan. I used to watch U.S. hockey and, figure skating and bobsledding and that kind. I don't care. It's in China, for crying out loud. But get this, FBI Director Christopher Wray told NBC News that he is, quote, blown away that Chinese spying in the U.S. has become so widespread. Where have you been, Christopher Wray? You're just now telling NBC News that I can't believe the amount of spying that's taking place. The FBI is now creating a new Chinese-related counterintelligence investigation, rotating every 12 hours. The FBI leadership has, of course, been asleep at the switch for years as they become a bulwark for the Democrat Party's conspiracy theories and blatant treason against the executive office. It wasn't until leftist overlord George Soros expressed his disdain for the CCP that the left and their lapdogs at the FBI did a 180 on their rhetoric, which had previously sold the United States out to Chinese interests. And I mean, folks, this is... where has he been? I remember when the remake of the movie Red Dawn came out, and the movie makers had to reshoot it because they had in the original movie, the Chinese were invading the U.S. And the CCP did not like that message. And Hollywood responded very quickly and rewrote it and said, oh, well, okay, we'll take the Chinese out of it. Oh, it's the North Koreans that are invading the U.S., not the Chinese. What were we thinking? Hollywood is in their pocket. Then you've got, let's see, very quickly here, as we are approaching the end of the hour, from National File, headline, University that funds Biden's think tank and hosts factcheck.org has a contract with BioNTech and gets paid for vaccine sales and FDA approvals. Can anyone say conflict of interest? University of Pennsylvania gets more money if more vaccines are sold. And gets milestone payments when the FDA approves a Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, according to SEC documents. Bottom line, university gets more money if more vaccines are sold. Well, how about that? Nothing wrong with that, right? We've touched on the Freedom Convoy. Canada, Ottawa mayor declares state of emergency amid ongoing Freedom Convoy. Comes as Ottawa police issues unlawful decree that will arrest anybody who provides fuel or food to the peaceful demonstrators. You will be arrested on sight. No ifs, ands, or buts. God, there's so much here. And of course, they're still trying to cancel Joe Rogan. We talked about that last week. Spotify, a bunch of washed-up has-beens threatening to take their music that nobody listens to off of Spotify if they don't remove Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan is spreading massive misinformation about COVID. What's the massive misinformation? That vaccines can harm you, that they have harmed many people